All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lionbolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and featured titan for today's episode 278, all the way from beautiful South New Jersey, none other than Nick Christopher. Nick, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, this is going to be so great, Nick. And again, just from everything that you've done throughout your career and continue to do, I'm super excited really just to share your story, your journey, and takeaways for everybody to apply and help them grow and scale their business.
Agreed. Let's have some fun and see if we can help somebody out.
I know it. It's going to happen. So let's dive right into it, Nick. I guess starting with the first question, really looking at it from the standpoint of your origin story. So I always like to lead it up to, you know, who is Nick? Where did he come from? What got him into the business and kind of where he's going today? So let's start there.
So we'll go all the way back to, I think, 2004 or 5-ish, around there. Market was booming. I thought about getting my license. I didn't. I kind of hesitated on it. Okay. Looking back, I'm actually glad I hesitated, because that's when real estate was very easy. You put the sign up, the house was sold. Very simple. Most of those agents are gone now. So they didn't kind of develop the strategies and habits. So I got in, got my license. I was building my house at the time. My son was about to turn 1, and I got laid off from my full-time job. So with the flick of a switch, I became a full-time realtor. So kind of got into the, either we're going to sink or we're going to swim, and I'm not going to lose this house. So it was lean and mean for a few years there till we got things going and all that stuff. The market wasn't the best at that point. But we persevered, we kept pushing. We built the business essentially off of door knocking, expired properties. I was known in the area that if your house didn't sell, I was coming behind you to knock on that door. And if I got in front of your face, then I was getting that appointment and I was getting that listing. So that's kind of how we built everything from there. I was with a team at that point, and I really wanted to join a team for personal reasons. I knew the agent. Okay. So the agent had actually sold my parents' house way back when. But for really why I wanted to join was, this is someone's biggest asset that they're probably ever going to deal with. So I didn't want to screw it up. That was basically the bottom line. So I jumped on a team. He was in the business for 20 plus years, 30 years. And I kind of just shadowed him until I felt comfortable enough to say, all right, this isn't for me. I'm going to form my own team. So at that time, no one in my office had ever split from a team and formed a team. So I did that. That lasted for maybe 4 or 5 years. And we brought on a couple agents who left, who came on. That fizzled. I formed another team from there. That made a good run. And then we actually grew leaps and bounds at that time. And then that dissolved as well. And then essentially from there, I basically started the Christopher Property Group, so that if a team did dissolve, it was always still my team, and we could bring agents on and off instead of renaming the team and trying to reinvent ourselves year in and year out.
And Nick, I love that you've gone through so much through your career, and again, learned so much along the way. And I want to take it back to 2004. It was really interesting, you know, that you had that example of kind of the sink or swim, and you know, with unfortunate nature through an occupation, you know, it was, hey, sink or swim, we got to go, we got to do this. What was the original thought? I mean, was there any level of inspiration or thought process to say, why real estate? Back then, what was it about it that really got you in the first place?
I always personally thought it was cool, for lack of something better, you know, like more profound, I guess you could say. Thought it was neat seeing how people's houses were, what they did to their houses, things like that. And that they were going to put all their trust in you to get them from point A to point B and figure all the pitfalls out throughout that for them.
It just blows me away. And again, we were talking about this a little bit before we, you know, went to, as we call in the green room, before we started going live here. And it's interesting because there's so many different paths. There's so many different ways to get involved in the business. And not everybody has that grand story of, you know, when they're a little child that they're going to be, you know, a top tier real estate professional.
Wasn't groomed for any of this.
Yes, it happens in some form or fashion, which is really exciting in and of itself. But you had some really good points too at that time frame. interesting enough, so many people going into a vibrant and healthy market into that standpoint, and not really building a business that should be from a foundation, and just kind of flying by the seat of the pants because the market's good. We
Yeah,
dealt with a similarity into nature the past few years where people got in and it was easy for them, not
correct.
really understanding that. So I love that kind of contrast and comparison. Very fascinating to that. And you've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, Nick, which is great for people tuning in to really feel and understand your perspective into those markets as they shift. It's just
And you got to be
phenomenal.
prepared for that. It's my first listings were short sales, asking people for price reductions, all the stuff that we basically don't deal with right now.
Wow.
So you were groomed on those hard conversations.
To me, what I like that though is it's teaching you the fundamental foundations, and this is probably a crude example, maybe not, but learning how to drive with a manual transmission versus learning to drive in an automatic transmission.
Sure.
There are people that if they start automatic and they try to go to manual, that's going to be really messy.
Correct.
The ones who started the hard way, the manual way, it's so much easier in transition. So I really love that adage and example, Nick. And again, what was the thought process of team? So I think it's brilliant in nature. Anybody who's tuning in who's newer into their career, I think it's phenomenal that you had that foresight to say, I want to learn and really hone in my skill with somebody who's been there, done that.
Mhm.
What was your thought doing that? And then again, what was the thought with kind of building your own team at the
So
app?
at that time, I was at Century 21.
Okay.
That's where I was at for 16 of the years. And one of the agents there had a team, and he was very successful, had a very large team. And he told me, part of his marketing pitch to people is that someone's always available.
Mm.
If it's not me, it's one of my other agents. It's somebody that can go show the house, can sit in for this, can do X, Y, or Z. So you can still go on a vacation, clear free. And obviously your phone's going to be with you and stuff like that. But if they got to attend a settlement, they got to show a buyer, someone's there for you where you're not handcuffed to this business 24/7.
Hmm.
And that kind of opened my eyes to that. And that kind of is what also became my marketing philosophy, that there's someone always available 24/7. You've got someone here.
Wow. And again, the what is the adage? You can go fast alone, but far together.
Correct.
Sort of mentality. I think that having that basis, and as you're talking about it, this was kind of earlier on at a time, teams were a new concept. It was a
Agreed.
solo agent sort of
Exactly
scenario,
right.
and then teams really started to evolve into what they are today. So what's the progression from that point, Nick? So you learned a lot along the way. Team built and shrunk, built, shrunk.
Correct.
Where you're at, I mean, absolutely dominating the market that you serve today and being number one and hitting all these accolades. You've learned quite a bit of the process. So I guess let's talk about the last phase before you got to where you are today, and what
Sure.
that looks like, what you've learned from kind of building teams and, associating the individuals you work with.
So when we were number one, we were the Century 21. We were the number one. I got number one agent for the 1 year. Then the previous year, or the year after, I should say, was number one team in the state. So it was fantastic. But at that point, I kind of felt there was time. It was time for a change. Okay. Didn't see as much of the growth potential there and stuff like that. Wanted to get into a bigger pond and like I was saying off camera, like our office that I'm at now with Remax, there's 48 of us. They crush the business. They're the number one office in the state. And I say it's an office of assassins. Okay. Like these guys do a ton of business. So I wanted to grow from that because we all have a different niche. Who does this? Who does that? Who runs their business a different way? So I wanted to get into those mastermind groups and say, hey, how can I know this or that or gain from your knowledge and stuff like that, and vice versa. They are asking me stuff because, again, like we said earlier, we all run these businesses a different way, and which way's right, which way's wrong, I don't know, but my way works for me, your way works for you. So maybe we can implement some of those ideas, not all of them. I'm big with like social media and video stuff like that, where something like this is going to be huge for getting it out to the world and getting on my platforms as well. For it's the more exposure, the better. That's the name of the game. The more more eyes that can be on us, the better chance someone's going to text, call, email, whatever the case may be. Say, I got to sell my house, or I got to buy this house, or whatever it's going to be.
Nick, and I love that you're mentioning that. I'm a marketing nerd. You know, you can wind me up on that path and I'll go all day long. But the idea behind taking kind of your story into transition from C21 to Remax, I mean, obviously, as we were talking about earlier, the world is your oyster. And as you're making decisions or conscious decisions as to who you're aligning yourself with and what path you're going to go down as far as a brokerage, you know, it's really exciting for me to hear that you specifically chose Remax. Big fan personally. And when you talk about the masterminding and just getting in those rooms or those environments with the assassins, the killers, the ones that are doing it at the highest levels, you can't help but turning or morphing into that next killer, that next assassin. So was that the main reason? Was it the camaraderie, the masterminding, the higher level individual you were surrounded by? Was there more to your thought process?
A little bit of all of that. Mostly it was getting surrounded by these other agents that were doing a ton of business. Okay. Whether a single agent or a team. I wanted that growth. Like I said, I kind of felt stagnant where I was at, and I needed another push. Like, obviously, you know, in any business, you start doing this for a while, you kind of lose your momentum a little bit, lose your motivation. So I needed a new little kick in the pants to say, all right, let's go and let's try and take this to another level again.
Wow. I mean, the honesty and integrity out of that, Nick, is huge. And it's so true. Anybody who's done anything at a high level, there's always plateaus, right? That it happens to everybody if you're not pushing it. But then depending on how long you stay at that plateau, you know, then there's room for growth or lack thereof. And I think the fact you identified it and then you made a decision. A lot of people, they won't be self-aware enough to realize that they've even plateaued, let alone take the leap of faith to make a decision that's going to better themselves, their team, their family, their community. I love it all the way through and through, Nick. This is huge stuff. So so you're at Remax, dominating the space, doing your thing, continually growing and scaling. What does the future look like? I mean, where do you see, you know, your perfect dream sort of scenario with the team, you know, with your business? What does that look like for you, kind of in a snapshot?
Moving forward, so we've been here 8 months, I guess now. So we're fully acclimated to everything. We have a full-time marketing person who is my wife, who you spoke to she kind of is the brains, obviously, behind the operation. She does all the social media. She gets the videos. She does all that type of stuff for us. And that's kind of really pushed us to get out of that comfort zone and grab another niche. So, and like we were talking off air is, you know, if being an agent, you have to have a niche, but you also have to be educated in all the different aspects of this business between estates, first-time buyers, investors, fix and flippers, whatever, buy and hold, whatever it's going to be. You develop a niche, have that niche, but also be versed in all the aspects of that business. So my team, I like to say, you know, I don't want to classify you as a buyer's agent or this. If you're on my team, I want you to be able to do something soup to nuts. I want you to go take a listing, take a buyer, meet with an investor. You should know everything, because there's going to come a day where maybe you don't need me, or I don't need you, or whatever the case, where you want to do what I do and start growing on your own. So for the future, I do like to keep the team small. It's obviously easier to manage it for us. So we have about 6 of us all together. Perfect world, I'd like to add probably 2 to 3 of, again, that are looking to do in that same mindset of where we're all trying to grow. Okay. Same age demographic, because I feel like then we're all on that same trajectory, so to speak. We're all trying to get the same thing, trying to get some growth, younger kids, stuff like that. You're in sports, all that good stuff. And those are, again, be involved with your community, different things like that are help bring business to you again.
Wow. But as you're mentioning all this, Nick, it's really exciting to hear it. And, you know, going back to your earlier thought process, and I'll kind of bring that full circle too, the importance of marketing and as you're discussing, you know, different social aspects and video, I love that you're heavily involved with that, because it is out of sight, out of mind sort of scenario. And in most businesses, any entrepreneur, if they look at it from that standpoint, you can build it, but they won't necessarily come. You have to let them know you're there and who you are. But I think deeper into that is connecting on a meaningful level, because this is a people business, as you know, and we work with who we know, like, and trust. There is physicality and digital natures to it, which is wonderful. But what I loved you said was soup to nuts. You and your team and everybody involved knows the business in and out, because it is one thing to get a bunch of attraction, right? So to
Correct.
attract buyers, sellers, and they all know who you are. But then when they experience that, are you the true practitioner and top tier expert? You guys eat,
Correct.
sleep, and breathe it, from the marketing aspect all the way to the actual end result, which is the buyer sell side and working
Agree.
with the consumer. I love it. I mean, it's setting the standard and the bar. This is why I get excited about the show in particular, is meeting individuals like you this way. Is ultimately, people need to understand that there are multiple ways to do this, but there are certain
Absolutely.
fundamentals that everybody should be implementing. And I love it, Nick. I mean, everything you're saying is ringing true.
Your business should be based on referral, obviously, and obviously if a newer agent, that's going to take time to build, but I mean, 95% of my business is referral. So at this point, doing the video and the social media and all that other stuff is just trying to grow that business to those people that don't know or like or trust us, and get them to know, like, and trust us at this point, so we can get more referrals.
It's that flywheel effect.
It's one big circle, right? Exactly.
It's beautiful though. I mean, that's how it should be. And again, referral business is being the lifeblood. It speaks volumes just with the integrity and the stick to it, the nature of what you do. So Nick, I want to dive into that, because I think we're going down that vein too. Is, this second question, everybody tunes into to really learn and grow and scale like the Titans have and continue to. So I guess if you could look back on your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you really added or implemented that you saw growth, a shift in the needle and a positive for change, what does that look like for you? What pieces of advice would you give to anybody tuning in here today?
There's a lot of little things, and they're free. Like, so you don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on Zillow or whatever. So coach of mine before really got me to where I'm at, was a huge person with a pre-listing packet. It's so simple that it's smart. Sell yourself before you get there. So I always say to my team, I said, if that pre-listing packet's on the counter when I get there, it's basically, don't screw this up, Nick. It's my listing. So, and I got one Friday, as a matter of fact, and she said, you're the only person that delivered this. So I think, like, sell yourself before you get there. Tell them you're this, you're that, the other thing. You sold X amount of houses. Your team does this. Your office does that. We market here. First of all, it's going to cut the appointment down. Number one. Number two, I feel like you don't count, like, nobody wants to hear how great you are. Nobody cares. They care about what you're going to do for them. So to sit there and tell them, I'm X, Y, and Z, I'm the best agent you ever saw, and blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. It's all white noise. They're going to tune you out. Sell yourself before you get there. Then it's cool. They're going to look at it, and now you're already sold. Especially even if you're competing. Like, I was the third agent competing. She signed with me right there. So I don't do the hard sales pitch. Like, so what's going to take to sign today? Do you want to sign today? Just like, we wrapped up, and I'm like, so you have any questions? Do you want to go over the paperwork? And they looked at each other like, yeah, let's get the paperwork started. And I don't do that hard close. It's not really my nature. It's, again, if you want to work with me, then we're going to work together, and we're going to come up with this plan to get you from point A to point B.
Nick,
another thing is handwritten cards.
Okay.
In a world where we all text and email and all that stuff, nobody writes a card. So I've got like 500 cards sitting here that pre-listing, you'll get one, under contract, you'll get one, sold, you'll get one, at the listing appointment. I've got listings where like, you're the only person that does that. Again, it takes 2 minutes to write the card. Very simple.
Yeah, the way you're basing this, though, like, I want to address the first, just massive pearl of wisdom there, is setting the stage, kind of being preempted into that. I think that so many people are rushed into certain things, and they forget that it is a multitude of touch points and kind of social stacking, if you will, or there's levels of credibility that associate with that. Letting people digest the main takeaways from Nick that matter to them. So you might have your list of accomplishments and longevity and all the the value proposition that you bring.
Exactly.
But I, as the buyer or the seller, might only care about 3 of those. So
exactly right.
I hone in on those details. You're like, wow, now I already know Nick before Nick's there. And now I'm really getting to, so I've gotten over the business side of Nick. Now I get to know the personal side of Nick. And I think, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's really a
That's your mesh. Exactly right.
I think that's huge advice. And so many people overlook that. It's again, how do I attract? How do I get the attention? It's okay, but you gotta actually show up. You gotta do these
Correct.
things in a specific way.
Be prepared.
I love that aspect. And again, but that's longevity. That's you
Yes.
doing what you do to the level that you do it at.
Exactly.
Which you have. But I would take it to anybody who's newer into the biz. Nick is spot on. Anybody who is a seasoned pro knows exactly what Nick's talking about.
Correct.
So this is great. But the handwritten, so taking the physical from the digital, I'm a big fan. I mean, think about it for the last time you received a card in the mail versus got something in a DM or a text message. It feels different. Correct.
And you're more likely to open it.
Always. Who's not going to open that? They go, oh, exactly. It's a direct and it's handwritten. I mean, there's ways to get around handwriting and all that stuff, machines and whatnot. But again, I think that it's just as simple as, the idea of picking up the phone.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to dial a million times if that's not your thing for cold calling, but strategically through your sphere of influence, dialing X amount of people that are in your world and your life that you just want to stay top of mind and in touch with. It's the same thing with handwritten. I mean, the simplicity of that is beautiful. I think, you tell me, Nick, but from my perspective, I think that a lot of times real estate professionals overcomplicate the simplistic in nature.
I agree.
I mean, and you've trained so many over the years, and obviously your own accolades into that. Any other thoughts? This is great. You're like a gold mine. This is so good.
You kind of hit the nail on the head there. There's a million different technology companies that want to take this away and do this for us and all that stuff. But the buyer or seller doesn't hire you for that. They hire you and for your expertise, not for them to get this automated email saying where we're at in the process or whatever the case may be. It's you have to stay hands-on, whether you have 50 agents, 500, whatever it is. You still have to stay hands-on to these people, because you may have 8 deals going, 30 deals going, but to them, it's only one deal. The only deal that matters is their house. That's it.
Wow, that's huge. Nick, I just love this. And I want to take it one step further. So because the majority of your business, into my opinion, as it should be, is repeat and referral, is that you furthering setting up the stage with doing the transaction to the highest of standards and staying top of mind? What are different ways that you really involve yourself with your community, with your people, and staying really relevant throughout all this time? Because you've touched so many lives and so many families. Mm-hmm. I mean, anybody out there, it's your database is important.
Correct.
I guess how does Nick take the physicality and really be present, and any piece of advice for anybody out there trying to really take their sphere of influence up a notch, I guess?
So like you said, the database is huge. That's the lifeblood of the whole thing. So at minimum, you've got to hit them at least 4 to 5 touch points a year. Okay. Schedules, like we're outside of Philly, so you got Eagles calendars, Phillies calendars, stuff like that. The cheesy magnetic fridge calendar for the year. Guess what? It's stupid, but it works. It stays on the fridge. It goes on the fridge. It's and then again, websites like Facebook, for instance. You saw one of your clients had a kid, job promotion, their kid hit a home run, whatever. It's all right there for free, and it's spitting it in your face. Write them a card. Hey, congratulations on Timmy hitting a home run, or whatever the case, going to college, whatever. Wow. It's people look at that and they're like, oh, they take notice. So, and then going back to that database and the referral, it's surrounding yourself with a good group of people, whether that be attorneys, home inspectors, mortgage professionals, that are also going to have your back and also solidify that same level of service, so that they know what they're getting when they're speaking to myself or whatever the case may be, that we're all on that same page. And that's what's going to keep everything moving forward. When I sit down across from you at a listing appointment and I say, all right, here's what we're going to do, and I've got this person and that person, and I'll get a text from sellers, or buyers, I should say, years after the fact. And they're like, Nick, I know you always got a guy. I need a landscaper. I need this. I need a painter. The guy texted me 2 weeks ago. I sold him a house 8 years ago, I think it was.
Mhm.
He's like, hey, you got a window person? Yeah, here you go. Tell him you're my buddy. Send it over. So, but that's how easy it is but you're still top of mind. So he reached out to me because he needed a referral. It goes full circle back to my database of that person's in my database who's a window company. And now everybody's happy. Everybody got a referral out of it. He got a window job out of it. I stay top of mind with my client. So little things like that are of service to people. It's a service business. It's a service industry. So having that person that can help with, a punch list for maybe a home inspection or certificate of occupancy or whatever, it's easy. It's that easy to make those calls. And the people that I tell my people that I give you, I'm like, they work on my house. So I'm not just giving you some person off the street. Like they physically have been into my house to do work for me as well.
Wow. And you answered the question before I got to ask it, is how does Nick vet these pros? Yep. And again, that's really, as a chef, eating their own cooking.
Exactly.
That's what
exactly right. So now they already have that trust with whoever that person may be, because you already told them that they do work for you. So they know that they can trust them and all that good stuff. They're going to show up, they're going to answer the phone or answer the text or whatever it's going to be. And again, the whole thing comes back full circle again. It shows you as the knowledge broker that you've got the resources, no matter what it is, to take care of.
Nick, I love it. I can't thank you enough for taking all this time today and sharing all this knowledge. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Any takeaways, any thoughts before we wrap everything up today?
No, I think, if you're a newer agent, it's, like we talked about earlier, develop a niche, find something you're comfortable with. I hate the phone, for instance, so I'm not going to be a cold caller or any of that stuff. One of the girls on my team, she's like, I could care less. I'm like, cool, call around all my listings. Have a good day. And we'll work a deal out from there. Maybe you like door knocking, maybe you like investors, but whatever, find your niche. But again, like we said earlier, build around that same niche as well, because you can't just work with investors, so to speak. You have to have other aspects of business. But if that's going to be your main focus, then build on that. Go to the events with the builders and stuff like that. I don't know, prospect at Lowe's or something. But have a niche that you feel comfortable with, and then build your business around that.
It's huge advice. And again, Nick, you being through so much of it and experiencing this with yourself and your production and the team, it gives massive perspective to the audience to really apply to their business and grow it and pick and choose. I mean, again, it doesn't all happen overnight. And I think applying different aspects and really honing in on those details, picking a niche is massive, and niches turn to riches, as they would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Advantages.
Absolutely.
I just think it's great, but in turn, and something that's just been massively consistent throughout all the years of doing Titans, and Nick, you're included into this, is just the consistency. Right, really showing up every day and having the heart and intent to really make sure that this is happening in a big way for the people that are around you. There's no elevator to the top. You got to take the stairs.
Correct.
I think
it's a ton of hard work, and it'll knock you down a few pegs all the time. Sadly, the way it is.
It's true. It's not for the faint of heart, per se.
It is not.
But ultimately, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And again, there's different percentiles there, Nick. And I just can't thank you enough, for really sharing it. It's been incredible. I know there's massive takeaways for everybody out there. But Nick, anybody who's tuned into this episode, whether they're live with us right now or if they're listening after the fact, if they love what they heard from you and they really want to connect with you in a meaningful way, what's the best way for somebody to connect with you, to find you?
You could go on either my Instagram or my business page for Facebook, Google. We've got Google account, we've got YouTube, we've got TikTok. You could throw my cell phone out there if they have a question. Yeah, absolutely. Email me, whatever. Questions. We all started somewhere. So if, it's a hard business. Don't give up, but you gotta, like Greg said, if you don't put the work in, then there's no excuse. It's a job. You can't just say, I want to start at 10 today. I'm in this office at 8:30 every day. Like my broker, who we came up together, we had a team meeting a few weeks ago, and he told the same story. He's like, I was in at 8:30 every day with him. Every day we were in the office, every single morning, just opening the office, not waiting for the secretary. We were the two opening the office to get things going and stuff like that. So you got to put in the work. And if the more work you put in, the more successful you can be. Nobody's going to tell you can't make whatever, X, Y, or Z.
I think it's a beautiful example of that, Nick. But and again, I keep saying this, but it's just so wonderful to hear and to experience this. You're living this. It's one thing to have theory behind an opportunity, but you're a practitioner and living those experiences, positive and negative, and really formulating the man and the professional that you are today. It's amazing. And that's why it's just so important for everybody to tune in, to understand these aspects and apply to their lives, right? It's correct. One size fits all. There's never going to be another Nick, but what I would say is that I can pick and choose what I really love. That's about exactly this man, and try to.
And that's what I say to my team. I'm like, there's so much stuff out there at your fingertips on YouTube, podcasts to listen to. It may be something that I take, like I send them the podcast that I listen to at the gym. And I'm like, take this away, take that away. But you may not, maybe Greg's like, well, I like this aspect of it. Cool. Go run with it.
Oh, that's so good.
Great. There's so much stuff out there.
I think that kind of goes into the other thought process, Nick, which I love you're saying. It is always learning, always growing. You
have to. In our business, you have to. It evolves so much and so fast. Like my lender jokes around. He's like, you remember 5 years ago we had lunch, or 6 years, whatever it is. And I told you to do video and you told me get the F out of here. And he's like, now you're doing all these videos and all that stuff. So again, you got to evolve. The first couple I did, I was super nervous. Now I record them, send them to my wife to get out to wherever. And I don't even proof them no more. I'm like, go, just send them.
And look at it now, Nick, live, in front of the audience here. Flawless.
I was nervous. I'm not going to lie to you.
It didn't come out at all that way, my friend. It was just super warm, inviting, and again, just very tactical, and me getting to know you as a professional and as a man, but looking at it from the tactical takeaway, massive. I know the audience got a ton. I know I did too. But Nick, so I have to thank you again, but I do have to dub you're an official real estate titan.
Awesome.
So that's a badge of honor you can wear forever, my friend. There's no trouble.
For sure. I appreciate it, Greg.
It's in your heart forever, my friend, forever. So, but seriously, Nick, thank you for your time today. It was great.
Thank you. It was an honor. It was appreciative. I hope somebody took something away from it. So it was a lot of fun.
Killer. And everybody, thank you as always for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like and subscribe. You do know what to do at this point, but I have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business with leading edge digital marketing, visit lionboltmedia.com. Now we're live here on Real Estate Titans every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. Catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.